Allie, thanks for joining me today. I'm really pumped to talk with you about Vidyard and video and how to incorporate it in the sales process, especially now that we're so remote and everybody's doing Zoom sales nowadays. I would love to ask you, like 2020, so many things change. How would you say that 2020 has forever changed the typical sales process?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a wonderful question and so much to unpack about 2020. But I guess just a quick means of just an introduction. My name is Ali Hamoud. I work on the Vidyard team as partner manager and ultimately very closely with Loan for Creative. Yourself and Tyler have been wonderful in partnering with us and just at least chanting the great word of using video in all different types of communications in the business. And we've had lots of great experiences with you guys and some of your customers going, hey, what the heck is that? Like, did you just send me yourself recording like a 30-second or a minute? And it ends up turning into them wanting to adopt it for their own business. So I just want to shout that out. But yeah, for 2020, I think what's really changed is people are looking for different ways to have the same or better impact after everything that happened. A lot of people started figuring out that once everything took place with COVID, that I guess the marketplace shook up a bit. And what's really interesting is HubSpot did a quick study. And the study was during COVID, sales managers and senior leadership started to think we need to start ramping up the amount of calls that we send or calls that we make to people, and also ramping up the amount of emails we send. So they started thinking we got to do volume because there's way more noise in the space than there ever was. I mean, think of all the field sales reps. They get pigeonholed and they go, I can't get in my car anymore. I can't knock on doors. I'm not going to face-to-face meetings. So not only was it already full of noise, but now you got this whole layer, which I believe it's around 40% of all reps or all field sales reps now invading the same space. So they saw that as it was inclining in volume, responses started declining, which is natural. I mean, they say on average about 100 to 120 emails were getting received by decision makers every day via salespeople, and now it's increasing. So if you thought you were getting ghosted before, it's getting easier and easier for a salesman to have no remorse.
Yeah, I think that was mentioned on a HubSpot partner call that last week. Just talking about just the increase of volume and even like, good old dialing on traditional phone calls and how like so many more phone calls went out, but like the engagement just plummeted because nobody wants to talk on the phone right now. And yeah, absolutely. Really good feedback. So you've worked at Vidyard for a while, and obviously you and I have worked together for a while. Talking about video and how to incorporate it in the sales process. You've given our team some really good feedback, and even some of our customers on how to do that. What would you say, like, video can improve and make an experience super unique in a lot of ways? A lot of the ways that I use it are in introduction emails and contact walkthroughs, or even when I'm doing straight up business development. So thinking about those three areas, what have you seen be super successful with a Vidyard video strategy?
That's also like a really, really good question, because I think what happens, especially like when you think about an organization like Vidyard speaking to multiple different stakeholders in different industries every day, we always just try to break down exactly what those goals are, like what they look like, or what the problem or the pain point looks like for an organization. And for instance, you just mentioned that the business development and the prospecting is amazing because it's like, this is your digital handshake. You get to hear the person, you get to see their voice, hear their voice and see their face. And it kind of feels like you're face to face with them. But what's the end result of that? And a lot of the times what it is, it's you're trying to book a meeting so you can further a sales cycle, or try to at least get the opportunity to show somebody why you're even reaching out to them. But further on, sometimes you'll see organizations hitting into different types of walls in an organization, like for instance, deal velocity, or they hit a bottleneck where midway through their sales cycles, they realize things are getting stuck in pipeline and we can't close them down. And again, you can't go face to face. So what do? Do you continuously call and say, so where are we at with that deal? Do you nurture them and send them more content? Absolutely you can, right? And those are definitely good tactics, but you can also utilize a catalyst like Vidyard, in a screen share like recording, or a face-to-face for knowledge transfer, which I think is a very non-traditional way of looking at video communication, video and sales. And I always use this one, and I think it's amazing. And it's been a huge talking point for a lot of people who talk about Vidyard and video in particular. And that's utilizing video during the proposal stage. Well, and I'll tell you exactly why, because it's probably one of the more critical aspects of the sales cycle, where the person is now, they have everything that they need in terms of information, they're ready for pricing, they're ready to see how this is going to be implemented or used in their organization. But there's a lot of information that goes on in a proposal, and there's lots of different things, and it's kind of like the last decision. So if you were to hand by hand just kind of be there with them, I guess digitally or virtually through a video and going over line by line, explaining things, reinstilling value, a lot of the times that helps in closing deals and increasing deal velocity. But also think about the idea of understanding buying intent. So it's like a salesperson is dealing with, let's say, 5, 6 proposals at once. How do you know which ones actually truly care? Which ones need to be nurtured?
Right.
Well, what you could do is with again, a tool like Vidyard is have the opportunity to see who's watching your video. So if I send it to, let's say, the champion that I'm dealing with, and he's like, or she's like, I'm going to go and reach out and send this proposal off to our legal team. And I also have, my colleague who needs to review this, so on and so forth. And you're noticing that no one's even watched the video yet. Now you have a reason to reach out and let them know that, hey, there might be something in this that, is timing right, or whatever the situation is. Or you might find that they're watching this so much, and through our platform, you're able to tell exactly what part of the video they watched. And let's just say there were some added administrative fees in the proposal as an example. If you know for a fact that's what they're stuck up on, then maybe you should be reaching out and reinstilling the value as to why that's happening, or maybe use it as a negotiation tactic. So it's really taking a closer look at understanding how people are engaging with your message, which you couldn't necessarily do with, let's say, an email. You can't gauge out exactly what part of a message they're reading. So there's lots of different tips and tricks you can take a look at that can help you understand buying intent. That's super valuable for salespeople.
Oh, 100% agree. I love those pieces of Vidyard and the tracking. Also, what I've noticed is oftentimes we are talking with one of the decision makers, and maybe they need to get buy-in from a board or from a couple levels up. And when we're able to walk through a contract, it's super smooth. And every agency and every company has nuances in how they do things. And it's really hard, especially I think like right now, it's last I looked, it was like 6.2 people are involved in the decision-making process. It's probably way more than that now. But when there's so many people that are having to look at something, proposals or contracts can just really all start to all look the same. But when you include a video and a walkthrough, like that's super rare. There's not a lot of people that are doing walkthroughs of contracts. I love that piece. All right, I have one last question for you. Yeah. People get freaked out about video, like they get hung up on themselves and worried. They're like, oh, I have to do a live video, and I'm going to be scared, or I can't do it, I'm going to fumble. What advice do you have for them? What do you tell people?
I think it all comes down to building the muscle. And I like to use this analogy with people, especially like, so you can start free, right? You can create a video right off the bat. You can just go onto Google, type in Vidyard free. Obviously, you're not going to have all the impactful pieces that a paid tool would have, but it's a really good way that has no barrier of entry to at least start inciting some responses and getting your feet wet. I'd always recommend that. And the analogy that I want to kind of talk about is like, when you're going to the gym for the first time, it takes about like a week to 2 weeks to finally lose that soreness. If you don't power through that soreness, you're going to go back to your old ways of going, hey, Netflix, you're calling my name, time for me to sit back on that couch. However, if you get past that week of soreness and you've built that muscle, you're not prepared. You now understand what your body's going to go through. You understand what your day-to-day is going to look like. And I think that's like the best way of looking at it. I mean, even take me for an example. When I first started, I would do anything I can to just kind of break out of that habit. And then obviously working at a video company, it was hard for me to not do it. And once I got a hang of it, I told myself, I don't think I can ever go back to not using video. And especially after you've built a connection with somebody, like the prospecting is amazing. I mean, I would say, and even with modern day tactics, like for instance, social selling, being able to use our tool to send videos through LinkedIn direct messages and being able to tap into different channels. I've built out a strategy for myself as a salesperson, and there's nothing I can do to go back. I mean, not after I've seen the type of success I've had now versus what I did in the past. So I'd always recommend just push through, get past that first initial stage.
I love that.
Yeah.
Cool.
And Amanda, do you recall, and this is something that like I thought about the other day. It's like right when everything happened, where everybody was out of office, everyone was working from home, people were switching, they obviously can't do any of that stuff. Do you remember like some of the challenges or some of the ideas you had in your head as to why you couldn't call somebody or why you shouldn't email someone? I vividly remember,
Oh yeah.
yeah, all of us saying, how the heck do we reach somebody at the office and cold call them if no one's in their office? Like we don't have direct
Hmm.
access to the mobile phones. So it's crazy how people were doubling down on emails because of that and just how bad that was. And everyone's intro was the exact same. It was just like, hey, I know everything that's happening, but I'm emailing you because I literally can't even get you on the phone.
In these unprecedented times, I can't call you on the phone, so I'll email you.
Yeah,
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 totally
exactly.
remember that.
Crazy. And another thing that also boggles my mind, and I'd love to get your take on this, is like, do you think that people will go back to like, let's say for instance, people did adopt video or did start doing messaging like this and saw some results. Do you think that, and even not just video related, any type of new habits or ways of going to work, do you think people are going to regress from like this new digital age, digital first type of workplace and go back to the old ways fully? Or do you think there's a lot of efficiencies that have taken place?
Okay, that is a loaded question. I think that there's two groups of people. I think people that were comfortable with the old ways and that wanted to go in and shake a hand and maybe didn't realize the breadth of their competition across the country, that they're
Mm,
just going to go back into the traditional, like, face-to-face selling. But one of the things we've really noticed, and I think a lot of our, well, I know that a lot of our customers have, is that geography selling has just gone away now. Your
mm,
client can be anywhere in the nation and you need to, or even on the continent, and you need to be able to communicate with them and, you know, solve for their problem. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be face to face. So I think that those early adapter organizations, and maybe even, you know, a little bit later than that, are going to have embraced and adapted to these new selling tactics and tools. Also, I think that working from home lasted a lot longer than we expected.
mhm.
And, there are some of us like LoanFur, we're a completely remote company. We have been for years. So we're really like good at that. We're adapted to it. We're comfortable. But some of these other organizations that just got thrown into it have probably found some really cool tools and benefits to working from home and to improving their sales process. But then other ones where maybe they don't feel like they're tech savvy, or they don't want to do video, or they're just used to old school selling ways and they don't want to change. I think those are going to be the ones that have a hard time keeping these new ways of doing things. And also, I think in the long run, they're going to have a harder time being successful, because there's a lot of really agile and forward thinking organizations out there that want to make the sales process a delight for people to go through. And if you don't think about your customer first or your lead first, well, they're going to feel that they don't want to do what's easy for you. They want to do what's easy for them. So make it easy.
That's you hit the nail on the head with like the whole customer first mentality. It's like, let's take a look at the way that people like to like enjoy their day, or like, let's say, consume content. Or if you take a look at patterns on phones, like let's say Instagram, Facebook, which we're all attached to by the hip,
Mm-hmm.
mass majority of that content, and there's been studies that it's like over 80% of all downstream content is video. If that's the way we like to enjoy consuming information, then why wouldn't we replicate that into the workplace?
Right.
And a lot of people bring that up. They say it's like, if that's what people want, that's what we're going to give them. And like, even if you look at HubSpot's mantra, the whole idea of like inbound marketing, inbound selling, it's like people don't want to be sold directly to, but people do
Mm-hmm.
want information and they want to come up to their own conclusions. Well, if we know that, we're not going to start, jamming salespeople down their face, and you know what I mean, and trying to get people to reach out. But nonetheless, we're going to listen to the people. So I think
Yep.
all the people that you're mentioning that are a little bit behind, they're starting to emerge, and they're starting to realize that's the way people want to be communicated to, which has been fortunate for everyone, and even fortunate for LoanFur, because you guys being partnered with someone like Vidyard, you guys have all you guys need in terms of being able to understand strategies, implement them into current strategies, and bring people out of that kind of laggard phase into this new cutting edge way of actually communicating with people. So I'd always highly recommend anyone that's listening to this that LoanFur is a great resource for anything to learn about. And you in particular, Amanda, definitely reach out to Amanda if you want to learn a little bit more about this. And I can also be included on those calls too, if need be.
Yeah, if you want to experience video during a sales process, reach out to us. And I see you have a little note in the background behind you.
Yeah. So I like to use I like to use my environment too. So you even notice like sometimes like I mean, you've probably seen this before. Like I'll write somebody's name on the whiteboard and send it to them. I do stuff like this because I miss being in the office and using video because you used to catch like like a squishy ball to the back of the head during your videos, or someone's putting bunny ears behind you, and it made the whole office space a little bit more fun. But now I have to kind of create my own fun here at home.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Allie, for chatting with me today. I'm really excited to share this video, and yeah, well, I'm sure we'll post some more about all the cool things coming up in the video sales world.
Absolutely. Thank you, Amanda. Take care.